Hey Aries, Scorpio season. I am so excited to do this reading. I feel like you're gonna have a lot of energy this month. You've cleared up a lot of space, it seems. You did what was necessary. I was just gonna say, you did the hard necessary work you've had to do, but you kind of had no choice last month. Or throughout the past few months, because there's things that weren't adding up. There's things to you that weren't making sense, but you had to understand them for yourself. So 3 of Wands, 10 of Wands. Well, you know when you set out to achieve something, you know how much hard work that's gonna take. But for you, that's the fun. Like, you find the fun in everything, or you can want to. The only thing you have to do is not try to force it. Your words are going to be very strong this month. There are also parts of you where you may see yourself and feel like you're moving at a slow pace with where you're going or how you're getting things, and it's not true. It's crazy how much when you put in that work to even not just to achieve something, but to see yourself as who you are before your physical surroundings meet that same view. It feels slow because it's the groundwork. It's once you get and you start to build that everything becomes a lot more playful in a sense. So I know you want to keep that involved, and this month might feel more stable than the rest, in the beginning at least. But you need to understand what that feels like. And there could be someone in your life, there could be a Taurus in your life, but this also is also by the Taurus full moon on the 19th. It may feel like a slow progression until then. There will be fast-paced moments, especially in terms of what new contracts or what new opportunities come your way. It's like you felt like things were going slow, and then all of a sudden things open up differently. Yeah. You may get an offer from a Sagittarius or a Gemini as well. However, I think it's important that you hear all of it out. This month is not a month to make any quick decisions unless you're absolutely sure. And if you find yourself questioning something that you wouldn't even thought you've questioned, take a moment. It's fixed nature to do this, so you might as well use the nature that we're in, because there's so many fixed signs happening right now. There's so many fixed signs in our field right now, I should say, that they're holding space for you to do that. And there's freedom in that. The Lovers and Temperance, right? So you may feel even slow in regard to how you respond to people. So it may be you that's actually being slow, which is really interesting for you, because in this month where it could be super, super fast, you're taking it upon yourself to grab the reins. And it's actually to your advantage, because even when you're building something, you still want to see and be it's like, the best way I can describe it is like, if you're a company dealing with another company, there's a certain personal relationship that you want to have, right? So there's certain relationship you want to have with any of these new opportunities coming in, especially if you find them to be important, especially if they're through friendships, especially if they're through yada, yada, yada. You want to be careful on how you approach them, on how you deal with them. And it's also important to acknowledge that you're new to this. You may progress quickly, but don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm a little new at this. Like, don't be afraid to be honest and notice the response you get from that. Because that not only shows that you're willing to be open and learn something, but you have a different perspective because you're just beginning. And that's something that, as an Aries, that's something you can take to heart, because when you do have a certain opinion and you do have a certain way of going about things, a lot of times it is the quicker way to go, and it's still getting everything done. And this month you're going to need to be very thorough. It's a very thorough month, Aries. And I think you're up for all these new, not that you're not a thorough person, but you're up for all these new different ways of building and starting a tradition, whatever that means for you, starting to, especially come Sagittarius season. Here we have it, another one on the bottom of the deck. So especially as we come towards the end of the season, so Taurus is coming up extremely strong here too. For some of you, you start to really think about how you want to start building your life. You kind of look, you've just like, for some of you, it's going to be this moment where you just like look around, you're like, oh shit, like I know what I want now. And you're not going to be afraid to like pass that up. So for those of you who are single, what I mean by that in a way to make it very easy is that if you're out and you see someone, you're going to have just like this automatic relaxed confidence to go up to them or to engage with someone you've always wanted to, or approach someone that has like, that you think is cool, you want to collab with, or just you have like this very relaxed way of drawing in really good friendships this month. Really friendships that could last a long time, relationships that could last a long time, and it's because you know more of what you want. And if you're someone who's always, if you have known what you want, this is a great time to get extremely clear. Because why not? Why not get even clearer? Because if you're looking around and you're like, I think I want something different. So think about it. Even if it's the most material thing, who cares? This is the month to do it. And also, you might have a lot of people approaching you this month. I mean, it is Scorpio season. You are Aries. You are both. Also, you might feel like the Mad Hatter. I know that's a whole nother subject. Yeah, so you're just on fire. Like down to like your sexual organs. The first word that came to my mind was loins, please. And that Scorpio rules those parts of the body and Aries rules the head, but you're both ruled by Mars equally. So without Mars showing up in your reading, it's very stern on the sense that there's a lot of slow, very effective communication that can happen this month. As long as you recognize and understand where you are and you're honest about that with yourself first, and how you decide to go about these different connections and maintain them is there's going to be a huge light that shines on that for you. And ultimately, by the end of the month, you'll be just like, you'll feel free to just do your thing because you now have the proper guidelines, you now have the proper trail to ride on, that you now understand what it is, the direction you want to go, no matter where it is in your life. Like, even if you're super happy and comfortable with your job, you love your partner, maybe you want to move, maybe it's that. So this is very general, but it's very particular in the sense of like each Aries is going through this individually, and yet it's still the same thing, I should say. Bottom of the deck, so much clarity, so much clarity, so much fire, so much magnetism. So many people are going to want to approach you too, and maybe not. And that might be for the best. You're also clearing out what isn't for you too, because you can move so fast sometimes that even if people want to jump on, and like, they just can't keep up. So even if you're moving slow, you don't realize how fast you actually are moving. But this month is really about being thorough. It's about finding the freedom in what container that you have. It's about stability, very Taurian. So the full moon is going to be, I feel like, very big for you on the 19th. So maybe until then, contemplate all of these things, or allow them to come, like even just write it down, and like you might get the answer from a place you weren't even knowing. Because sometimes when we're triggered, it's an answer to a question, and it's like, it doesn't have to be sad, it could be joyful, it could be just anything, or it could just promote a different thought or get you going somewhere you didn't go before in your mind, because there is a lot of air going on too. But it's an emotional month for you in the sense that this fixed nature is having you do this step by step, but it's a little heavier. That's all. There is emotion that is involved. You might clear up some emotion, because sometimes when we begin to do something like that and find the security and safety within ourselves and within our lives, this is very Scorpio, it can become emotional, because you can realize maybe you never thought about it, didn't have it, weren't taught it, and now you're starting that on your own. So that's just for for some of you. Okay, well, in the second part, we'll look at the cards and you'll see them. It's very clear. And all the information is below to work with me one-on-one. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next month. Okay. Aries. Okay. Hi, Aries. So this month, probably by the end of the month, you're going to feel like you put a lot of work in, as you have been feeling. But this month, it gets easier in the sense like you know where you're going now, and you know what needs to be done, and you feel very confident and capable, and things might be moving slowly in the ways that the fruit is being bore, but fear not. You are constantly coming into connections with people, are constantly bringing you what you need, or where you're at is constantly going to bring you more what you need. A great tool is to write that down when you know you need it, because you never know when it's going to come. And it's a great thing to get out of your brain so you're not constantly thinking about it. For some of you, you're going to maybe struggle communicating this month, though it's very important to when you really need to, especially it's for what you need in terms of anywhere you're contracted, or if it's with a Taurus, Gemini, or Sagittarius. Even if it's hard for you, it's advised that you do it in the best possible way, and in your best interest to let go of the expectation of what the outcome is. Like sometimes I'll think about having a hard conversation over and over again, and I'll just let myself feel into what I might say, especially if I know what it's about. And if I don't, like I always do this thing where I trust, even when I'm reading, I trust what's going to come out. I just start repeating that to myself. Like, I trust how I'm going to handle the situation. The more that you rely on the trust of how you handle things and how you respond, even after whatever you say, whether or not it comes across the way you want it to, you trust how you're going to respond in that time. So you might have a lot of conversations this month around what you need, where you're going, and it's a month for you to be kind of in the womb. The womb is a place of creation. So whether you're pregnant, some of you might be pregnant, by the way, and or also getting married too. You might be talking a lot about marriage if you're in partnership. And if you're entering a partnership, you might start off talking about it, and not to be surprised, it's kind of the month to talk about all the things. So especially in close, intimate relationships. So you have that going for you this month, especially if that's what you want. And it's going to clear up a lot for you. This reading is extremely clear. So it's going to clear up a lot for what parts of you didn't understand. And now through these conversations, through these connections that you have, you're growing, and you're going to even come to an actionable understanding by the end of the month. That's going to also clear up a lot of headspace or clear up a lot of questions you didn't even know you had. And you're going to find yourself with more energy, more focus, more clarity. And it might be a little intense because Mars is moving into Scorpio, which is the other sign Mars rules. So being slow and methodical, that's the approach this month. It's still going to move, and by the end of the month, you won't even realize how much you got done, but it's very much Taurian energy where it's slow and methodical, but also flexible, especially with people and what your needs will be on a day-to-day basis. For some of you, this will cause a great deal of energy to erupt. So if you do the latter and hold back, then a lot of it might come out, and it might come out in a way that might not benefit you in the long run. So looking at that, it's important for you to express your feelings even to yourself. There's a very obvious way that you've realized life has changed. Like you've been going through this change and this transition. For some of you, literally a job, some of you moving, some of you, there's just like this overall renewal. And I keep getting drawn to the snake, and snake was brought up again today. So for some of you, maybe look into a snake. there is this, and then renewal is also a part of that. So this spiritual nature, this very tempered side of yourself, you're getting used to. And not to say that all Aries are hotheads or whatever, whatever. It's like, no, like, but this is something, even you get fed up with that shit sometimes. Let's be real. Even you get fed up with, I know we make memes and jokes and over exaggerate different parts of the zodiac, but even you get, just like Libras get annoyed of themselves. Like, honestly, by the time Libra season was over, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of glad. This one was a little rough, like in certain aspects, not in all. I had a great time. But for you, it could be the same thing where you get like so over being so headstrong, or so over being that one that's confrontational or is assumed to be confrontational, or completely non-confrontational, and then maybe self-sabotaging. And some of you self-sabotage by getting all this energy pent up. So I think you've been even frustrated with yourself, but it's even more frustrating when you don't allow yourself the chance to learn and the opportunity to learn. And you, for the most part, I see have. And that's benefiting you so much, because this eclipse at the end of the month is going to be a big realization for you about yourself. And I know you've had many of these, but it's going to be a realization in how much you actually love the idea of stable freedom, meaning the stability that you're gaining this month, you're creating freedom in a way that you didn't realize was possible. It could even be through a Gemini or a Sagittarius, both, or a Taurus. You could be influenced by the people around you, because there seems to be a lot of people around you. And that's important. Why? Because even the one who leads can also be led, like I said before. Sometimes the leader is in the back, ready to pounce even. Like, you can think of like, great, I'm in the back, I can scope everything out. It's like being a catcher in baseball. It's like you get to see the whole field. But when you have to turn around, it's the agility. So we talked about agility a few months ago too, I think. So that's going to come up this month, but it's different because it's becoming more crisp. You're gaining this really grand sense of your own nature it's just going to be raw too at the same time. So some of you also may surprise yourself of how much silence you take to yourself. Like, whether it's you're focusing on something, you may not even realize that you don't crave sound around you. You don't crave stimulation as much, unless it's what you're needing to do. So you may even gravitate towards being outside more and more come Scorpio season, maybe even alone. Some of you also, if you're not partnered, you may feel like you really want to be. There might be an urge. Some of you are going to feel this urge to date or open yourself up in a way that maybe you hadn't. And it's going to feel easy. Even though it feels like you haven't done it in a while, it may feel easier than you realize. So maybe let yourself be surprised. And just be careful also, though, around just watch what you say when approaching, how do I say this? Watch your responses into how people approach you. Just notice that. That's it. Okay. All the information to work with me is below, as I said before, and I will see you next month, Aries. Thank you.